Top of the morning to you. So, uh, I'm gonna add my voice to the abortion Dobbs Roe versus Wade decision. I know that this is probably maybe there's people checking out at this point, and I don't blame them. Getting overwhelmed by the amount of coverage of this, but it's certainly worth it. I think the amount of coverage. This is a pivotal point in our history, and I'm not going to likely spend too much time on as much on the issue of abortion as you might suspect. I'm more so going to focus, I think, on um, where this is going to go, like where I kind of see this heading, like what's going to happen to the nation. So, a couple things. First of all, just to speak on the ruling itself. Um, Real quick, basically what it is Dobbs, and I didn't. In full disclosure, I didn't read the judge's opinions or anything like that. I'm just going based on the understanding broadly of the law and the decision. Uh, what it does is essentially it struck down Roe versus Wade as it. The opinion of the court is that there never was a privacy designation for a woman to be able to kill her child, to kill her baby, just because it's inside her. That's not a privacy distinction. That's not a privacy, and so um, the how this sort of works now is what they're essentially saying is this: the federal government overstepped its bounds originally with the Roe case. They're not saying you can't get an abortion. They're just not saying that. They're not saying they're not even saying it's evil. They're not making a moral distinction on it. What they're basically saying is that the proper role of the federal government was never to have found something that didn't exist. Because once they did that, it created a precedent. Because you, under the Constitution, are have rights. And by that, let me phrase this because this gets confusing too, or this gets misunderstood. Our Constitution doesn't give us our rights. God gives us our rights. Where we have rights as humans, or secularly speaking, if you're not a believer, you're born, you have rights. Okay. Maybe I should say if you're conceived, if you exist, you have rights. Let's put it that way, um, because that sort of gets to the nuts and bolts a little bit of the abortion debate. Um, you have rights. The state cannot violate your rights as a human. And so the federal court with Roe versus Wade found some right of privacy, which said a woman can choose to abort her child under this concept of privacy. Now, in common political philosophy, the basic idea of law is the concept of when does or differentiating when someone's rights were violated by some other person. Okay, that's the law's point, to figure that out. If somebody violated your rights, you take them to court. If they stole something of yours, if they harmed you in some way, this is the basics of law. Um, so this becomes an issue because the question then is, then this has always been the question, is a woman violating the right of the baby by killing the baby? It would seem logical to say yes, since everything associated with being a human and having those rights is now stripped from them along with their life. So it was an open and shut case for many people in the country to say, of course, this is a violation of the child's right. Um, so where do we go from here? Um, The what I wanted to say about this is this. We're going to see riots. I think we're seeing them now. They're going to start as demonstrations, and they're going to be riots, and they're going to be attacks. What's going on now are the judges have their addresses have been given out. Kavanaugh's already has been. I assume maybe the other were too. I mean, even Amy Coney Barrett's children's school addresses. So I guess it's not enough for the left to be able to kill their own children. They're going to threaten to kill other people's children, which is interesting because if the child is the private property of the mother, then those children should be the private property of Amy Coney Barrett, and she should be the one that should be able to kill them, not somebody else. If the left is operating as the left has operated consistently, but we know the left doesn't operate consistently. Um, Speaking of consistently, I mean, it's interesting too that the Roe situation gets overturned on the heels of 2019, 2020, and that particular situation that happened that came out of China that caused governments to lock down, the lockdown situation, right? And then what came out of that is a is something that was sold to the people as a cure. And I'm trying to avoid saying the words because their tube is totalitarian in their view on this, and they don't care for freedom. I don't have a right to privacy in regards to my opinion. They can abort my video if I don't match their opinion or if I just blatantly say things that's against their opinion. So YouTube, their tube can abort my video. So I'm trying to tread cautiously here. The reason why it's interesting is because many people saw this hypocrisy right away. This idea that you can compel somebody to do something with their body that somehow wasn't a violation of this privacy issue that they saw. And oftentimes when it comes to abortion, the concept of rape comes up, right? This is always the go-to. I'm not going to die. I've done other videos on this, okay, but I will say just briefly. The concept of rape, I will have more sympathy for it if they actually did something about the rapist, but they don't, right? So a man could go out and just rape women, rape, and the left is like, well, as long as you just dispose of the child that could occur. If it happens, the woman, forget the woman that's raped, forget the rapist. We're not going to go after the rapist. You know, they're taking the body parts of the little kids and they're selling them, but they're not doing DNA tests to go after, to even create a database of people who are raping people, right? They're not going to do that because they need that issue, right, to justify abortion. And this right to privacy, right? So this concept of rape, let me get back on that. If I said, and this is where I'm going to paint an analogy in regards to 2019, 2020, and that cure that came up. And comparing that, the mandate, right? The mandate for the cure mandate. If a if a man runs a company and he says to a woman, I have to inject you with my penis or otherwise I'm going to fire you, I think everybody would be in agreement, left or right, that that's rape. I think everybody would say that. But somehow, when it comes to somebody saying, I need to inject you with this product from a giant corporation or you lose your job, somehow that's not a violation of any kind. In fact, it's actually a good thing, because that person that runs that company cares about humanity. See the inconsistency here? Where's the privacy angle? And it's just interesting that when we come out of that particular crisis, that now Roe is overturned. So where do we go from here? My prediction is this. The United States, let's say this. I think most people who are paying attention realize there's a lot of negativity taking place. What does that mean? To me, it means the United States will never be the same. Okay? The only question, there's two questions. What will we look like when we come out on the other side of this? And how negative will it be, the process getting to there? And that's what I'm going to talk about. And what I think is that Roe, the Dobbs case, the overturning of Roe versus Wade is going to play a pivotal role. This is going to be a pivot point in regards to the direction and the trajectory of our nation. Let me use a quote from Hillary Clinton, or I won't quote her. Well, I guess I might. It takes a village. I think that's what she said. I think she actually took that from somebody else, probably some communist or something she read. I don't know. I want to say I heard that she got that from somewhere. It wasn't even her own, but it's just an idea she was regurgitating. But she's famous for saying this. It takes a village. And so I want to give this concept of the village, right? Because this is going to be important. What I said about to start this video was what the federal court did was they said this isn't a federal issue. It never was. There was never a constitutional violation because there's not a privacy right to kill the product of conception, the baby, the fetus, whatever you please. If you want to use the Latin word for baby, whatever. What it does is it goes to the states. Okay. We are a divided nation. We see that now. The states have identities, and in our climate of identity politics, where everybody's looking to identify themselves, I don't know if states have pronouns, but they are going to define themselves now in regards to their reaction to this ruling. That's what we are going to see. States are, and it's already happened, and if you're paying attention to this, immediately states have, and it's almost instant, because there were laws on books that couldn't be implemented because the federal law said that it was a violation of the constitutional right of the individual in those states. So once that goes away, it's no longer a constitutional violation. The law then is upheld. So those laws may say you can't get an abortion at all, you can't get an abortion at a certain time frame, whatever it is. There's no constitutional violation to have that law is established. And so now you've got all these laws that are being triggered. You've got people coming out to make new laws, I assume, signing laws, governors are signing things, and states are now identifying themselves by their reaction to the Dobbs ruling. And what this will do is exacerbate the polarization of our nation. I saw a meme on Twitter, and it was comparing abortion to slavery. And it was interesting because there was a comment by somebody that said, I don't even know how you can compare those. They're not, basically, they're not comparable, which is complete obfuscation, I think, or delusion on the person who said that's part because they're directly connected. And there's various reasons why. One, you're dehumanizing somebody. Slavery and abortion share that. They're dehumanizing somebody. You're treating somebody else's property. Both share that. It's codifying that dehumanization and that keep and putting somebody in the category of a property, and you're codifying that by law. Those they share that. Slavery was that way in our country before they abolished it, before the Republicans abolished it, by the way. The Republicans, not the Democrats. The Democrats were pro-slavery. The Democrats are pro-abortion. There's no new thing under the sun, guys. This is where, and this is where I'm heading. Slavery split this country. Everybody's aware of this. I assume we all learned this. If you're not a big history, you know, like looking into history, I assumed at some point you were given this information in school at some point in history class. Our nation got divided, North versus South. Um, I'm to get to the long and short of it. I'm kind of expecting something similar to happen. Will it be civil war? Possibly, possibly. Um, we are a split nation. There was a poll recently that said I think 50%, and it wasn't down party lines, of people polled said they believed um, in secession, that we were either heading for it or they were pro for it. They were for it. So I think the writing's on the wall to a certain extent because, much like slavery, this is going to be a pivotal issue that's going to divide our nation. And in regards to our state in the world, um, you know, let's say with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, it's going to exacerbate this. And what I mean by that is you can't look at things in just a vacuum. You can't just say slavery equaled civil war, abortion equals civil war, secession, and that sort of stuff. I'm saying that there's a number of things to consider here. First of all, we have a joke as president, and I'm not allowed to say I don't think that I don't believe that this was the most fair and free and honest election. Um, you know, so all of the things that you think you know and understand about math and previous elections and things you know you saw and all the things that have been uncovered, all that stuff really doesn't exist. All the fact checkers have gone out of their way to make sure that they've just somehow dismissed all of it. Or if they just admit that it happened, they say, well, you know, that wouldn't overturn. That wouldn't overturn. That one won't. 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 None of that stuff will overturn. I don't know if anybody said, well, what if you add all that stuff together? But no, it's free and fair. I'm definitely free and fair. Everybody knows it. You cannot say it wasn't. It was free and fair. In fact, the best election we've ever had. In fact, I think I said Biden was a joke. No, he's incredible. He's amazing. He's an amazing president. And obviously, I'm being sarcastic here. What the point is this: I don't know what's going to happen globally, but I know if China wants Taiwan, this is a perfect opportunity to do it. I also know if this was the plan, man, it's really nice that we're so weak right now. Isn't that incredibly convenient for them? And also, since I'm on the subject, our everybody realizes lobbyists pay and purchase our government. Um, I wonder how that purchasing takes place. Does it go in different areas? Foreign influence. I mean, remember we were told in 2016 election, foreign influence. Oh my gosh, foreign influence, foreign influence. But by one country, Russia. Nobody ever talked about that other country. I'm not saying it happened. Honestly, I'm not. I don't even know. I'm just saying it's a world economy. Even the left says they're globalist, right? And they hate nationalism. Trump's a nationalist, and he's terrible, orange man bad. So if you're a globalist, what about all that global money that comes in? Does it not have an influence on our election? Just asking questions. So now we're weak, and I don't know if you guys saw that Lithuania basically blocked travel with Russia, which apparently is a big deal. We're funding a war. You remember how they always said they're killing GIs, our GIs over in Iraq because Iran and Russia were funding, and we looked at that as an act of war. And now we're funding war against Russia. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm not even making a moral judgment. I'm just saying the facts, right? It's what we're doing right now. And yet we're weak. So what's going to happen? This is the stuff I'm still grappling with in my mind, but it seems to me is that if things get further crazy over there, if China goes to Taiwan, if Russia decides, hey, Lithuania kind of need that supply area, and you're sort of violating whatever. So if you don't stop, we're going to go in, and if they don't, and they go, and it looks like World War III is what I'm saying. Um, and we're super weak. So if Biden wants to play FDR here, he's going to have an issue with a mandate. Are all the people in our nation going to just rally around the next event? Will we believe the next event? Right? If you look back in the past, there's some things that took place that got us into wars that we now know are kind of shady. Uh, so will it be something like that? Is that the next shoe to fall? Is there going to be some sort of tragic event that is there to tug at the heartstrings of Americans to pull us into war? The reason why I'm saying all that geopolitically is because what will it do for us what will it do to our already polarized situation here domestically with this Roe versus Wade issue? We're going to be split in regards to how we fundamentally deal with humanity. That's the question. How we deal with logic, morality, science, humanity, all of that is coupled in this abortion situation. So, what are we going to be in for? Are we going to be able to rally around somebody like Sleepy Joe Biden for a war effort? I think it's going to be different than World War II. The country was different. The media was different. Our access to the truth was different. We now know things they couldn't possibly know back then. So you could engender this patriotism and point it overseas. I think what you're gonna see happen is it's gonna backfire. If they attempt to do something overseas, I don't think you're going to get this. What you're going to do is exacerbate this, because you're going to see people on the right who are going to say, whatever we just saw is they're trying to pull us into war, and we're not falling for it. And states and governors, they're, the right wing governors and stuff are going to say, hey, we're against this, and it's going to be a big political issue, and Biden is going to try to play commander in chief, and he's going to have a problem, and the military is going to have a decision to make, because it's going to be blatantly obvious that half the country is not involved and not wanting to get involved, and it's going to look like the country's splitting. And it very well may be that the country might split, because I mean, think about this in terms of a marriage, right? How can two, if they don't agree on fundamental stuff, stay together? I think this is the beginning of the end of what we think of as the United States. Now, I'm not dooming and glooming here. I think it's possible that it could be a positive. Like, there's going to be a lot of negative. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that, but maybe by the time we get to the end of this thing, there'll be some positive to it. Maybe the U.S. will come back in a better form. Maybe it'll split, and the people who want to kill babies and give politicians all the power because they think they can change the weather and make their lives fair and end racism and everything that they think politicians have the power to do but haven't ever been able to do. If they think that all that's going to happen, they can move to those places. They can go to Oregon and California. And it's difficult because I know there's places in California that are going to, I mean, I don't know how it's going to all shake out. There's going to be a lot of turmoil maybe it's birth pangs, a lot of turmoil getting to a new life, so to speak, in this world, a new country, a new sort of country. I don't know. But this is what I'm thinking right now. And it could be totally wrong. I'm just spitballing, right? I mean, I'm like everybody, right? You look at things, you don't know what to, I mean, we're at a place I never thought we would be. If you go back and look at some of my videos, I'm completely wrong about a lot of stuff. But I'm pretty sure that the one thing I do know is that this Roe versus Wade, the Dobbs decision, is going to be a pivot point. What exactly it pivots toward, where we're headed, the trajectory, that's the question. So I'm going to leave it there. And if you guys have any thoughts on this, comment. Heck, start doing your own videos, man. I think that's, I think the conversation's needed, man. This is a new era where we can all talk to each other and just kind of see what's going on, like, I believe in the regular people. I don't, everybody above us who run the media are sellouts. Almost all of them. I mean, in my mind, they're guilty until proven innocent, because I've seen so much trash, it's all money grubbing nonsense up there in the media. You can't trust anything that they tell you, that they sell you. So, and that's why they're trying to control social media so much. That's why their tube cracks down. You must comply with the narrative, or if you stray too far away from the mainstream narrative, they come after you. Why? What does it matter? Diversity, right? I thought they loved diversity. You can't tolerate my opinion, my diverse opinion. So if everybody starts throwing their opinions out there, man, that's what we need. So, like and share. Till next time. See you guys.